Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kiersey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. I got a few questions about my novels that I've written and published over the years, and so I thought I'd do a video about them. If you're not interested, that's cool, I get it. This is a trucking channel, so you can click on the little card up above, that little thing up above, and you can go on to my next trucking video. However, if you are a driver that is into audiobooks or ebooks or paperbacks, I have them published on Amazon, and you know, I'd love the support. So stick around and I'll be right back. So I was asked how I started writing, and I always wrote, even when I was a kid, and then in high school and in college, I used to write other people's research papers for them. So I never really dabbled in the fiction until, I don't know, 2012 or 2014 is when I really started. But before that, I was really good at writing research papers and proposals and things like that. When people at the post office needed an actual letter that sounded professional, that they were going to go complain about the bosses to the bigwigs, they would come to me to write it. So that's how I got started originally. And I kept sort of like a diary about the funny things that happened at the post office, including alligators getting loose because it's legal to mail an alligator, and like the anthrax crisis. Our building was shut down, and after 2 weeks, when we were brought back into the building, the FBI had cleaned the wrong machines. So there were bombs, there were all kinds of crazy things and funny situations that happened. So when I wrote that as a short story, it's about 90 pages or so, but it comes across really funny. And I knew that the postal employees would buy it, but I also wanted people to see that I had a serious side. So I coupled that story with another short story that's really serious, and it's a historical fiction, and it's more drama. I'm a very suspenseful type of person. Like, I like the suspense, thrillers. I don't want anything that's predictable. To me, that's just boring. So I was reading a book one day and I was like, wow, that story sucks. I could have made a better ending, so I did. You know, in all honesty, my first couple books, my first three actually, are kind of, I don't want to say elementary because the stories are great, but my writing was still developing, and I was taking classes on how to improve writing. And I think that most published authors will tell you that they grow into their work, and I did, but the stories were still incredible. And when it came to the Postal book, British people loved it. Like, they were calling it a roller coaster of hilarity. And so that's how I got that one. And then somebody said to me, well, you should write a whole novel. Do you think you could write a whole novel? I don't know. I mean, did a couple hundred pages with that, so I guess I can. And so I was researching Ancestry.com at the time, and one side of my family has Irish and Italian, and then the other side's German. So I was researching the Irish side and seeing that these people came over in like 1820, 1830, and I was trying to put myself in the position that they were in when they came over. So that was the inspiration of my book, Tower of Tears, which was supposed to be a 3-part series, and I haven't gotten to that second part yet, but maybe I will. And because I loved the TV show Dallas, and anybody who's as old as I am or older will remember who shot JR was like the biggest question for like a year. Who shot JR? Who shot JR? So everybody in the whole show hated J.R. Ewing on Dallas, and you had no idea who it was that killed him. Well, in this book, I killed somebody, and then I didn't know who I wanted the killer to be. So I just had everybody hate them, and I said, well, as I go along, I'll figure it out. So halfway through the book, my mother jumps up and she goes, I know who killed him. And I was like, great, who? And she told me. And I was like, well, if she thinks that, everybody else is going to think that, and I can't be predictable. So when I finally finished the book, the whole book, I gave it to her, and she read it, and she's like, that's not who killed him, because of course I made it somebody else. And I was like, yes, it is. And she's like, no, it isn't. And she threw the book down, and I said, yes, it is, because I wrote the book. It's my story. So I do have a second part to that book, a book 2, that I've gotten halfway through and I haven't finished, which is kind of annoying to me because the other books I wrote between like 6 and 8 weeks, full 300-page novels, and they're good. The stories are amazing. So that was a little depressing. But then I wrote this, I got inspired to write a book about my German family, because I had my grandfather's little brother was 14 years old when he was forced into the Hitler Youth. And, you know, he was basically brainwashed, and he later became an SS officer. So, you know, you have to put yourself in this family's shoes of how did they feel and what did they do. And it turned out, and I'm talking in real life, his sister wound up housing Jews and homosexuals and gypsies in her basement. And she used the Catholic Church to get them out of Germany. And because her brother was an SS soldier, she was protected. And eventually her brother found out about it, and he had to decide, well, what do I do? Do I kill my sister and everybody else, or do I protect her and in essence protect what she's doing? So I thought that was a really cool like basis for a story, and I decided to make it like a multi-continental type of spy espionage story. The actual ending is really true to life though. So if you like historical fiction, I did a lot of research on that one, and you'd probably really like that. I'm one of those people though, I'm a speed reader, and I didn't realize that I wrote my stories as a speed reader. Speed readers like action, we like dialogue. I don't need 100 pages of description because I have an imagination, and I feel like that's an insult. Stephen King I used to love, but he will put 50 pages about describing the room I'm in. By the time I get through all that, I forget what these people were talking about. So when you read my early books, I come across like almost like a movie where it's basically dialogue and action and dialogue and action. I didn't have a lot of setting and scenery and things like that. That was something I had to develop later, which leads me to the best and most recent book that I wrote. It was called Zodiac Lives. And you know, if you're my age or older, you will know that there was a serial killer in San Francisco. He was never caught. He was shooting people on lovers' lanes that were making out in cars, and you know, it was something that just absolutely terrified people, and they couldn't catch him. And he would send the police and the newspapers clues and letters, and he would encrypt these like anagram looking type of puzzles and codes, and he would say, well, break my code, my name's in this, and they never caught him. In the 70s, he like disappeared and shut off all communication for a while, and then out of nowhere he sent a letter saying that he was going to blow up a school bus. So the 70s out there in California was really crazy. You had a lot of different things going on. You had like the serial killers were running rampant, like Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono were killing people, and they're called the Hillside Stranglers in LA. And then you got this guy running around shooting people in the late 60s and 70s. So you know, it's a really interesting story because he was never caught. He was never caught. And even though they had descriptions of him, and they had, you know, they did have survivor that, you know, testified and, you know, gave a description, but he was never caught. So I had a nephew in real life that as a 2-year-old, he used to say that he had a past life, and he was really adamant about it. So I decided that was a good idea for a story, and I made it so that this woman had a daughter who was only she was a toddler, like 2 or 3 years old, and the toddler start giving clues to the Zodiac killer, clues about the Zodiac killer and his identity. Like, she was having these dreams that somebody was coming to kill her, and she kept telling her mother talking about things in San Francisco, things that were going on in the 70s. You know, this is a kid that's like in 3 years old in 1999, 2000 time frame. And I did the book in that time frame so that the killer in real life could still be a killer rather than some old man, because then the book wouldn't be interesting. But basically, the little girl's dreams were giving the newspapers and the police evidence. They were finding bullets and different evidence and giving them clues to the Zodiac killer's identity, and he had been dormant for 20 years. So when he sees that somebody may know who he is, after 20 years, he starts killing again, trying to find out who it was that is involved in, releasing his information. So I'm sick and I'm twisted, and I don't like predictability. So people that have read that book told me that was on the level in their bookshelves next to James Patterson and David Baldacci. So because of that, I'm like, woohoo, I made it. I could never write another book again, and I'm perfectly happy with that if I don't, because I feel like that one was really, really well written. It's a great story, and I had a great editor on that one that I paid some decent money to, and it really did well when it came out. It still does well. And it is available in paperback, audiobook, and ebook. All of my books are. And usually the ebooks on Kindle are 99 cents. Sometimes I give them out for free. I can set them for free. I figured when I could get to like a couple hundred subscribers or something, or 500 subscribers, I would set them off for free for everybody to go get. But if you have any questions about the books, or you have any questions about trucking, or any kind of like leisure activities that you would do when you're out here trucking, because unfortunately I really haven't had the time to write when it comes into the novels. I really have to be focused, and even doing these little clips for YouTube, I can do these in a few minutes, like 10-20 minutes or whatever, and then I'm done, and then I'll pick it up and edit when I feel like it. And the same thing is true for truckingtruth.com. I've written, I think, 27 articles on there about trucking. So if you haven't seen those articles, I'll post the link below. But when it comes to leisure activities out here, especially when you're new, you're exhausted. You don't have time. Like, I remember being new, and it was just like, some days I didn't even check the truck. I pulled into the rest area and jumped in bed, because if not, I was going to fall asleep anyway. So don't think that you're going to come out here and you're going to start a business. Like, I know people say, oh, well, I'll do one of those work from home businesses. It's probably not going to work, no offense. I'm going to do, schools online. I'm going to go college online. That might be difficult depending on what the schedule is like. And, I was looking at a school online, and even though the classes were online, the testing was done back at the campus at home. So if you're actually going to a real school that has online classes versus like University of Phoenix, that could be an issue. And I'm sitting here at this with this customer right now, and I'm looking around, and this is a really tight place where I have to blindside back and do a 90 alley dock, and this is gonna really suck. Really suck. This is one of those places that I wish I could pay the yard dogs, but they don't even have any. They suck. So, welcome to trucking. I want to say thank you very much for sticking with this video, and like, share, subscribe, ring the little notification bell so you can get my future videos, and I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.